Hello friends, welcome back. In today's session, we will be discussing about regression versus retesting. What is the difference and how to test, and what are the major areas that we have to see when we have to go regression and all that. Okay, let's get started. So the main concept of regression and the retesting is very simple. Regression, when we say regression, we will be looking at the broader range. The regression may be due to existing functionality is got changed or affected. The reason is very simple. um, the existing functionality changes means, say for example there was a production issue, and that issue got fixed. Once the issue is fixed, it has to be tested before we deploying into the production environment. So in this case, we are going to test the complete application. So again, the question is whether you really need to test the complete application, or you can go with the partial test and deploy it. So let's discuss all this and understand the concept of these two thoroughly. Well, so as I said, regression and retesting, it's goes a very parallel. Parallel in the sense, the activity that we are going to perform in the regression and the retesting is is based on the changes that we are building or we are invoking to the application. So let's see when the regression will happen. So the scenario number one would be the new feature added to an application. That means, say for example, there are some existing functionality there in the production environment. Customer has raised some additional feature to add to that. Okay, so in that case, what we are doing, we are disturbing the existing environment, or we are adding the new feature to the existing environment. In that case, we need to go for a regression. So we will see one by one all this with the example, but let's catch the points first where and all regression is required. The second point is bug fixed. That means you're testing a build. Say for example it's a release 1 build version 1.0. okay, so you are testing some functionality, and you have found one issue with some requirement deviation, or some functionality is not working. So the generally tester, whenever they encounter the issues, they will consider that as a bug. Then they have to log those bug in the defect management tool. Okay, that process we know. So once that bug is logged, and developer has to give the fix, and that given fix should be deployed. Say now you're in 1.1 version build. Now the same tester, or the tester who follows the steps, reproducible steps, and find out that okay, the issue is got fixed or issue is not fixed. So whatever the case, so if it is a fixed, then we need to ensure that by giving this fix, it is not affecting the other functionality. To confirm that, we need to do regression. Again, how big your regression would be, that based on the area and the number of the defects that you get in the fixes in the next release, right? So we will discuss this in the later. Now the third point is patch releases. Say for example, There are scenarios where you don't have new functionality added into the existing functionality, or there is no bug also fixed and given to you for testing, but still some of the scripts executed. Say for example, in some banking application or some larger application, there will be a maintenance activity every quarter. Once they'll do the releases, basically that releases will have some performance related updates. Say here in this case, no new functionality added, no bug fixes given, but some performance related um, application changes they made in the DB level or whatever it is. So they want to do a patch release. So in this case, since it's not new function added or bug fixes, but it's a patch release, in that case also they did some DB changes, or they fine-tuned some codes or whatever it is. We need to ensure that this patch release is also not affecting any functionality. So in that case also we have to do the regression. Again, how broader regression would be, it's based on the release notes that they have provided to you, that you have to take a call. Okay, and the fourth one is full release. Full release means what? Again, it's a combination of new feature, bug fixes, performance issue related patches, or whatever it is. The team wants to go with the full release. In that case also we need to perform a round of regression to ensure that build is not at all affecting by doing any of this activity. To ensure that even you added a new functionality, it's not affecting the older one. Even there are bug fixes, it's not affecting the older functionality. You made some patch releases, that's also not affecting the functionality. And you go for a full release, that's also not affecting the older functionality. So to give the confidence to a product management team, to a stakeholders, to a client, we need to do a regression. So now we understood that when in all we have to do a regression, and what are the scenarios where we have to perform a round of regression. Again, regression can be a broader one or partial one. Regression we can go with the full regression or partial regression. It's all depends on the area in which the build is getting affected. So that we will discuss later. Okay, then retesting. So what do you mean by retesting here? So when the tester is identified some issues, he will log a defect in the defect using any of the defect management tool, and that will be tracked until the bug is fixed or resolved. Okay, so once developer says accepts the bug, okay, it's a bug and is ready to give the fix, then he has to give the fix in the next release. Okay, say example 1.0, you found one issue and you log that issue in the defect management tool, and that is assigned to a developer, and developer agreed that there is issue and he is going to give a fix in the 1.1 release. So now you are expecting that fix will come in the 1.1 release. Now you got a build, now you are in the 1.1 release. The first thing that after smoke test, the tester has to go and verify all the defects logged in the 1.0 release and whatever the available in the 1.1. okay, now you start verifying that the issue is got resolved or not. So if what the tester will perform in the 1.1 is, he'll open the defect management tool and he follow exact steps what is mentioned in the description. So the same steps he is going to reproduce in the 1.1, and you'll make sure that the issue is got fixed or not. So this complete process is called retesting. Okay, so here the tester is going to confirm that the earlier version defects, whatever the team has logged, and whatever mentioned in the release notes, these defects are fixed in this 1.1 or whatever it is. You will ensure that those defects are really fixed and is okay with that fix. Okay, then what you will do now is okay with the fix given by the development team, then immediately we will perform the regression. Again, regression based on the affected areas. Okay, now let's go and understand all this concept regression and retesting with some example. What I did here, I created one simple layout. It's a banking application, and here we have three modules: home, fund transfer, and my profile. Home, here the basic display is your current balance and the number of accounts you have, saving, ppf, and whatever it is, that display. Okay, and fund transfer, you have a fund transfer flow, NEFT, RTGS, IMPS flows. And my profile, it's your profile, your information, your address, things like that. And on the right side you have a user profile, that is login and logout, things like that. Now let's go back and try to understand. This is the existing application, right? Okay, now for this complete application we also have some test cases. Okay, say for example, home screen I have 10 test cases, fund transfer I have 50 test cases, my profile 30, user profile 10, logout 2. Okay, these are all the test cases I have on the existing application. Now what happens, now let's go back and see when and all regression will happen, right? When new feature added to the existing application, that means this is the existing application, now some new feature is going to add it. Say for example, the new feature under fund transfer. Okay, so here say they have added new feature, say what is that, say for example through link Paytm. No, so the under fund transfer earlier they had only the bank gateway. Now they are going to add one more feature with, if you have Paytm account, you can do fund transfer to bank account to your Paytm account and vice versa. So that feature is added. Say this is the one requirement. Okay, now this is a new feature. Okay, earlier it was not there, this is added under the fund transfer module. Now based on the requirement, again tester will write some test cases for this, and you will say I have Paytm test cases to ensure that this functionality is working properly. Okay, Paytm, he says some 50 test cases added. Okay, now since the additional feature added to an existing application, before we deploy this application to production, we need to do a regression. Okay, now we are clear. Okay, there was one application running in the production. Since now the Paytm, a new transaction method is added under the fund transfer, now we have to go for a regression and do the deployment. The individual test cases will be executed along with the old test cases. Now if you see how many test cases that we need to perform in the regression. So if you look at this application, the fund transfer related alone sufficient, and it will guarantee you that it will not affect the other module functionality, because this Paytm is not related to home are not related to my profile. It's only related to fund transfer flows. So now you can say that, okay boss, I will execute 50 test cases and also this fund transfer related 50 test cases. So you need to execute 100 test cases to ensure that this adding new functionality to an existing application is not at all affecting your old existing functionality. Okay, these two means 100 test cases suffice you that you can give a go signal to your deployment team and deploy it. This is how a regression areas will be chosen to execute. Then suppose if you have time, then you can do a round of test on the other modules as well. But if you don't have time but still you have to certify the build, then this is the best way to recognize your number of test cases to be part of the regression. And it's always good practice that you keep a traceability matrix and you trace each and every flow of your application and have the test case count ready with you. Then you will be in the good position to say, boss, these are all the only test cases that I need for execution. Without this execution you can't go for a release. So that is the one scenario. Okay, so this is called partial regression. You don't need to perform all the execution, test case execution, just you see the affected area. The affected area in this case is fund transfer, and you have fund transfer related test cases, existing test cases are 50 and new test cases are 50. So to say this build is clean, you need to execute this 100 test cases for release, as simple as that. Okay, now the second thing is that bug fixed. Okay, so now let's say under my profile, there was what you say, link other. Okay, that's the flow. Okay, link other. Then in the version 1.0, the tester find that whenever he try to give a valid Aadhaar card number to link, there is no OTP message is sent out. That's the defect. And in 1.1 he got the fix for that. Because of that SMS gateway and whatever the reason, it's not configured in the 1.0. There was an issue when they tried to link with valid Aadhaar card number. Application is not generating the OTP to a user to link and confirm, right? So that flow was missing in the 1.0, and in the 1.1 development team agreed, okay, there is an issue with the SMS gateway or OTP, it's not sending. We have fixed that issue and you can test now. In the 1.1 release, team got the build and they are going to verify that whether link Aadhaar is working properly or not. What they do, they follow the same step. They give the valid Aadhaar card number and try to generate the OTP. Now this time, since the bug is fixed, they got the OTP and they are able to successfully link the Aadhaar card number to their bank account. So this is the bug fix, right? So in this case, now let's think, okay, now the fix is resolved, the fix is given and it's in good condition, right? So now let's think about the regression area here. Okay, so for this link Aadhaar is not affecting any of this fund transfer or home page or user profile or logout. It's under my profile. So you tested this. So what you have to do now is to perform a regression on this. You will execute the my profile test cases and link Aadhaar related test cases. So that means my profile is 30 test cases, and that test case where the link Aadhaar is there, right? Those test cases that you need to perform. That completes your regression. Okay, so in third example there is a patch release. Okay, now say for example in this same application, they the gateways that the application involved, the payment gateways involved here, right? So generally what happens, whenever there is a transaction takes place, there are some gateways that application will invoke. Okay, so generally what happens, due to it's a third party integration, sometimes we get the timeout. It's a practical example also, and we all know that whenever we expecting some SMS OTP related, we don't get it because of the so many reasons. Maybe this application responds very late to the telecom provider, and that there are a lot of things technically, right? So generally the get timeout issue will happen. So what team has decided, they have seen this performance issue, they did some gateway fine tuning so that now on, after the build, there will not be any timeout related issue. So this is just a upgrade they made on the fund transfer side. Particularly they touch this piece of code and they did some fine tuning on the gateway side. Now we don't need to go for a full regression. Just ensure that the performance of the payments using NEFT, RTGC or IMPS or using Paytm, it's going fine, and there is no delay in the getting the OTP and completing the transaction and things like that. So again, so what you need to do is, based on the patch it's affecting on the application, now you got to know this is the complete fund transfer related upgrade. Now you can go for a fund transfer plus Paytm related or fund transfer related test cases alone is suffice to see the patch release is working fine or not. Okay, that is the third scenario, and the fourth scenario would be full release. So no matter the team wants to go with the full release, that means the complete availability of these modules will go to the production. So in that case, so you will get a complete release note wherein all they are touching the code and things like that. Say for example, here in the full release time, what they did, they added one additional feature here, about. Okay, about with something, and link other, and they added some, you know, pawn, things like that, and this already changed, and this here they did some layout change on the landing page. Okay, and this all will be a part of the full release. Okay, so in this case you need to execute all of these test cases to ensure that the changes that they are making on this existing application is not broken or not having any issue. To ensure that, we need to go for a full regression. So I hope now we are very much clear that what is the regression versus retesting with some practical example. Okay, so let me summarize this. We have to do regression whenever there is a new feature added. We have to do regression whenever there is a bug fix is given. We have to do regression whenever there is a patch release. We have to do regression whenever we are going for a full release. And again, the broader regression that we are going to do, choose is based on the affected area. There will be two types of regression. One is full regression, another one is partial regression. We are going to choose this full and partial based on the affected areas. How we are going to choose? We will have a traceability matrix where we will give the complete flow with test cases and affected flows. By seeing that, we will decide, okay, I am going for a full regression, I am going for a partial regression. And what is retesting? Retesting is something to reconfirm the fix given is correct or not, or whether the fix is given is resolved or it's still dead. So what generally testers do, whenever they found any issues in the application, they'll log a defect using the defect management tool. Then that will be tracked until the bug is fixed and given to the testing. When they are testing in the next release, they'll follow the same steps to reproduce it. When they see the fix is given is resolved, issue is resolved, they will mark the defect as closed and verified and closed. Then since the code is changed, or since the defect is resolved, and they need to ensure that the given fix is not affecting the older functionality. So when they are doing the next part, that is called a regression. Whenever they are re-verifying the defect, is called a retesting. Okay, I hope this session helps you guys to understand the difference between regression versus retesting. Thanks for watching this.